Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the greatest book club of One Piece ever.
I can't.
Yay!
I have to get higher.
We can't start every One Piece talk with the cock piece meme.
Yeah.
Why not?
Though Joe posted a genuinely ruthless one the other day. Not a fan. I am joined by Joe and Bradley. Tyler cannot make it this week. But
Yeah.
it's we're coming off of Thanksgiving right now, and still vacation season, so it's a little tough. We have to do it this way, or it would be like, well, the next batch of chapters is already out by the time we get around to
Yeah.
it or get another chance. So
I mean, we're gonna probably have like 2 or 3 more, and then we're not gonna gain till New Year's.
something like
Actually,
that.
actually, we'll be lucky if we get 3.
Yeah, because this is the time of the year where Jump goes on break and Oda goes on break, so there'll be like a point where like it'll be 2 week break, one chapter, another weird 2 week break.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a weird time.
It's a tough time. Hey, Joe, remember when JoJo Part 9 was supposed to start this year? Fucking fraud. Fraud.
So long as it comes out before the 31st, it came out this year. I don't know what you're talking
It's
about.
on deadline. All right. One Piece 1065, the 6 Vegapunks. We have our usual 3 chapter batch here. Let's
Yeah.
touch on the highlights of these chapters because they were pretty damn good and got me like emotional and hype over lore. It was a great time.
Yeah.
But one thing with 1065 here, it starts with Caribou talking to Zoro and Brook. So what destructive secret is Caribou gonna stumble onto this arc? He's
I feel bad for this guy almost.
He's gonna find the entire history of the ancient kingdom.
like
and,
he's gonna
eat
find it before Robin, and
Yeah, he's gonna eat the poneglyph and like carry it around with the swamp.
delightful. It's been amazing how this character showed up as like not even a secondary. He was like a tertiary antagonist of Fishman Island, and he's
Yeah.
still like Oda still hasn't cashed in on everything he's been setting up with this complete loser. But that's one of the joys of One Piece.
I
You were gonna say, Joe?
I just like that Zoro's like, oh, thanks for your help. Leave.
Yeah, you just get the fuck out. Zoro and Brook have to also get into some shenanigans soon. Maybe they'll run into CP9 before
Yeah.
CP0. Sorry, they work at a different organization now. Maybe they'll run into them before some of the others. Speaking of CP0, man, I just can't believe Spandam still has a job. What did he?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Oh my god.
I
His
need an
dad was
explanation.
in the government. His
Yeah.
dad is that.
He called a
nepotism.
Buster call on Ennie's lobby by accident. He's a fucking tool.
I mean, anyone would have done that.
No,
Like-
fire this. I need an explanation because this is just awfully convenient. I've been following a streamer who's recently going through Ennie's lobby, and I'm just reminded at how badly Spandam fucked up that whole operation. So it's like he gets a promotion basically. I don't know. I need an explanation of that. So the actual meat of this chapter is kind of this interaction with Jinbei, and then some stuff with the Ancient Kingdom near the end. Explain to me this, or riddle me this, y'all. The Straw Hats here, in pages 4 and 5, walk through a hologram wall or door, and then
Yeah.
it's not a hologram on the way out. What the fuck is that? What is that technology?
It's the future, that's what it is.
It's a one-way door. That's all that is. It's a one-way wall.
What? Yeah, you say that like it's even among the realm of science fiction. This makes no sense to me.
It's a one-way wall. It's like a one-way mirror.
That's not how that works, Joe.
Yeah, it is.
You can't walk through a one-way mirror.
You're right, but you can with a one-way wall.
Okay, you're right. I can't wait for the stupid SBS about this, and then Oda goes "Awoo," and then talks about his penis, as he's wont to do.
We got side thigh Robin, so it's okay.
Yeah, she's there to distract us from this wall.
Yeah.
There's like an awkward transition where like Seraphim just walks through the wall, or Lilith rather, and then
Yeah.
like she's just gone in the observation room, so that's like a weird cut.
You are right. I was so confused because it's like she walks up
She
to
gets
the door.
like she walks through the door, she gets called somewhere, And
Yeah.
then the Straw Hats are kind of like, hey, they walk through the door a little later because they don't really know how it works. Because of course we wouldn't. She's already gone. She's already like looking at the situation. So I don't know. She went through a trap door or something.
Yeah.
But
I do like this panel of Sanji sticking his head through the door.
it's cute.
It's a good meme pick.
And then so a big meat of this chapter is the Seraphim Jinbei fight, which we literally called it, I think, last podcast. It's like we're gonna run into Seraphim Jinbei soon.
Yeah, it happened way faster than I thought it would.
That's the thing. I thought it would be like a later arc, like where.
Yeah, like a all semi-final boss.
Yeah.
I said it's a joke too, where I was like, yeah, next chapter we'll just Seraphim Jinbei because they had tiny Jinbei.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hey, Oda's showing us what young Jinbei looks like in the main story to remind you, so when you see Seraphim Jinbei, yada, yada, yada. But, like, I was like, Joe, you're such a dummy. It can't be next chapter. Well, look at that. Yeah, I figured this would show up, like, after all hell breaks loose in the actual, like, conflict of the arc, if that exists.
Yeah.
Like, Jinbei would be an added benefit. But how did y'all feel about this interaction and mini fight with the Seraphim Jinbei, and any things you guys want to note about this? Because it's like a good chunk of the chapter, and there's some good stuff here.
I think it's just cool that all the Straw Hats like get a chance to get some hits in, but they don't seem to go down. Like it reminds me a bit of the Pacifista fight.
Yeah,
Like
they seem very resilient.
I just like the part where Nami's like, just because you're a child does mean I'll go easy on you.
Yeah, my favorite part about this was actually how every Straw Hat had a bit of a different like reaction where
Yeah, you get something different from everybody.
yeah, I think it's a good way to reinforce all the characters. I like how when Robin gets touched, like Sanji and Robin, or not Robin rather, when Nami gets grabbed, Sanji and Robin don't hold back at all. We get to see more giant Robin, which is like cool that this is the core moveset now. So I think it looks dope.
Pie Warriors 5 gonna come out.
Can't
it's
wait.
Just Giant Robin all day.
This reminds me of when Jinbei, or when Sanji in Fishman Island, he walks up to Jinbei. He's like, "Hey, it's cool that you helped our captain and all, but fuck you for hurting Nami indirectly, and like you need to apologize." So like, Sanji's always been keeping it real with Jinbei, which I appreciate.
Anti-Jinbei Sanji propaganda.
So did y'all note that like his hand has like a weird liquid in it? I wonder what y'all make of that.
I just noticed that. Like it.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, when we were looking through this, like he has that bracelet that has the water inside.
But
of it.
it's not a bracelet because if you look at it, there's depth to the upper layer.
Yeah.
Which implies it's like thinner than the arm. So that's like a tube of liquid that is beneath his wrist. So it's like I wonder what that's all about.
Like, I mean, aside from obviously being clones, maybe they're also cyborg augmented, you know.
They definitely are because they all shoot like pacifista
Yeah,
lasers as
so
well.
like maybe that's just like some machinery.
So I think the point of it would be so he always has water handy so he can do fishman karate at any point.
You know, that kind of like Katara carries her fucking water around.
Exactly.
Exactly the same thing.
Wait a minute, we're missing an important note here where he dove into the fucking ground.
Yeah, well, I was gonna bring that up next. He's using the swim fruit.
Yeah.
Like Frankie
what?
even notes it. He's like, I know that power because Frankie fought Senior Pink. So, what the fuck is up with that? At some point, Vegapunk was able to extract that devil fruit power. Because this is the thing with the pacifistas. I think like we're being shown. I also think this is how they created the lasers, for example. I think this is becoming like a more recent theory of like, how do we have laser technology? There's a theory that it was taken from the light fruit in some way. So I feel like Vegapunk has figured out a way to weaponize devil fruits in this way. So
he also like and what's even crazier is that Jinbei can utilize this fruit because he just uses the ground as water for his karate.
Exactly.
Which is nutty.
Those are like the main things I noted about this. I do think it's weird that when Vegapunk shows up, they're like, all right, we're not gonna worry about this Jinbei anymore. But also he locks their feet down to the ground, so they just all kind of surrender. Now, if Zoro was here, I will bet like $50 that he would have just cut off his own leg. Zoro loves the idea of cutting off his own limbs to keep fighting.
He wants to get a peg leg. He's like, I'm in all of.
In Enies lobby, when he gets handcuffed to Usopp, he's like, yo, one of us, we're going to play rock, paper, scissors, one of us just cuts off their arm. It's easy.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say he was going to just murder Jinbei because he has darker skin in this version.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's also a thing. That's a good thing Zoro wasn't here. I think that's why he got sidelined for this portion.
Yeah.
So
we have to stop some racism.
We get formally introduced to every path of Vegapunk here in this spread that I think it's like kind of confusing as you go through it the first time because we're jumping from Vegapunk to Vegapunk and they all seem to like be getting the urge to go to the bathroom and relieve themselves, and then York does it, and then all of them at the same time feel better.
Interesting.
So we have one-way door, Joe. Explain this one to me.
God, what's it called? You ever charge your phone by induction techniques? You know the things in, what's it called? In Death Stranding where you can park next to them, they just laser beam charge into your...
Yes, of course. What Toru was working towards in JoJo.
Yes,
I am aware.
They digitize your P and put it into York. That's what happened.
The P is digitized in the balls. I see.
Yes. Well, not the balls, the uteri.
Yeah. That's not how... I don't know if that's how women work, Joe, but...
it's not, but that's not how balls work either.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That is how you would do the meme. So that's cool. And then we get introduced to Shaka. Y'all, Shaka is one of the hottest One Piece designs. Agree?
Agree. He looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
I think Shaka cosplays are very viable too, because you just get a sick ass jacket and a helmet, and it doesn't matter what you look like. You could just be Shaka.
He looks like he walked. Yeah, he looks like he walked off a cover page. The Straw Hats are usually in.
He looks like he walked out of Random Access Memories Daft Punk album. Like straight up, they just took the Daft Punk helmet and put a 1 on it.
But what I mean is, like, he has that like Caution XO stuff, and like the One Piece characters like trying to.
That is the kind of clothes they wear in those.
Yeah,
the brands they wear in those.
They get like the words.
What do we think about some of the other ones? I like the little guy who is a head in a bigger body, Punk 4. I like Pythagoras. He's
a pet. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tiny little head that's piloting a bigger body. That's cute.
I like the Plug Man who has his like the rabbit ears.
Yeah, he's cute too. Good characters for One Piece Treasure Cruise eventually. I feel like I get the sense that like Oda wanted to keep the cast down for this arc, because notice we haven't been introduced to any of the residents of Egghead Island.
Yeah.
But he wanted to flesh out the roster a little bit. I don't know if he created all these parts to do that, because it feels like he's doing something thematic with it. So it's probably a reach to say that, but I feel like they're filling in the role that the usual lively cast of characters in an island would fill without overdoing it like a Wano, for example, where there's like 80 of them, So I like this approach for a smaller arc.
Man, so how soon after characters get introduced do we get them in Treasure Cruise?
They have to show up in the anime first.
Yeah.
Not years, because the anime is not that far. Well, yeah, it's about a year behind, I think. So in a year, you'll get here's the Vega Force, and it's going to be the 6 of them, and Shaka and the real Vegapunk would be your legend units, etc., etc. They will be 5 times more broken than what's currently out, because that's just the progression. And then the chapter ends with quite the banger where Luffy, Chopper, Jinbei, and Bonnie stumble into a giant robot as Shaka is talking about the ancient kingdom. And we're going to get a lot about that in these next few chapters. But a big defining feature of this particular part of this like chunk of chapters is this is a lore-heavy section. Even more lore-heavy than even, I would say, Zao, which is one of the most lore-heavy arcs in the story.
Zao felt more like well, no, it was lore-heavy because they explained how to actually get to wherever the One Piece is.
Yeah, they also set up Odin. Like, it's the first time you hear about Odin. They set up some Roger stuff. Yeah, there's. I would say this is the second lorest heavy, but this is probably gonna blow it out the water. This is the arc where Oda is gonna go all out with it.
I'm very curious about, for the Vegapunks, like, what the body situation is. Like, are they people that Vegapunk just kind of kidnapped or volunteered, or did he create those bodies? Like,
right, because they're obviously cyborgs, where I think, like, Edison and Pythagoras might be full robots even.
Yeah.
But I think someone like Lilith and York would be cyborgs. Also, why is Atlas yelling digestion punch in that spread? That was also confusing after York goes to the bathroom. But I digress.
Because York is also eating for them, so she's being filled.
Yeah, it's just like everyone's like, "Oh, I feel better," and then you cut to Atlas, which you haven't seen all chapter, going digestion punch. So
she was hungry. She's no longer hungry,
and
she's angry all the time.
Yeah, that's one of them I want to see more of, because I do not understand the deal with that character, like the gimmick yet. I don't see the vision on that one. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know. There's a theory that Lilith is actually a clone of Sora, Sanji's mom, and I actually think there's some legs to that, because the comic strip Sora, like, it was weird that, like, they kind of looked Vegapunk. There's like a whole video on it, and I think the theory has some legs, and it could be like I used to love this woman, but she married Judge instead while we were in Mads kind of thing. But it's also creepy if it's like, oh, you cloned Sanji's mom, and also I think Sanji would have recognized by now, so that can't be the case. But like, they could be clones, it could be volunteers, or it's like you said, it could be kidnapped.
Yeah.
But the chapter 1066, The Will of Ohara.
Yeah.
Talk about
what a
chapter name. Yeah, like you read this deep into the story, and like, the will of what?
We're going where?
We're doing this now?
Yeah.
So
good chapter.
The meat of this, this is probably my favorite chapter of the batch. So to explain the big robot, Vegapunk says that a machine similar to that was found roughly 800 years ago, and that machine, the big robot, also dates to that far. So this is clearly a situation of like, there was an ancient civilization, and now there isn't, but we're catching back up to it. So what does that say about the Void Century? Is that like surprising to you guys? Because it's the first time we've heard something like this, I think.
Like that it was technologically advanced?
Yeah, like, it's obviously technologically advanced civilization was always on the bingo card, right? But it's the first time it's actually brought up.
I think that's the best way to say it. Like, it was always on my bingo card, but I never like thought like, oh, that's definitely it, you know?
I always figured it was some sort of advancement, because they talk about like the weapons. Like Pluton was like made so long ago. It's Pluton, right? That I'm thinking of. Yeah.
They're all made that long ago.
Yeah, and so like, it was just like, well, if Pluton's a ship, and some sort of technological relevancy, right? Or it's a fruit. Like, it just seems like a natural, like, A or B kind of situation.
At Eddie's lobby, that was the vibe I was getting. But as the story went on, I was going more towards like, oh, it's like a fruit, or it's Zunisha somehow, or something to that effect. But now it could go either way. It could be just actual technology again.
Or it could be both. And
or it could be both, and you put the Pluton on Zunisha's back, and it shoots the water gun and destroys the world.
You just take the moon, you take the sun.
Indeed. But, so it's a reaffirmation that the Void Century was indeed that time span where there was a war between the 20 kingdoms and the Ancient Kingdom, where I think it's reasonable to say that the Will of D, or the Clan of D, originated from the Ancient Kingdom, and that's why they're the enemies of the gods, and they're called the Devils. I wouldn't be surprised if D just is Devil, and the message there is that, like, because the victors write history, which is something like Doflamingo also says back in Marineford, and so I think it's like something in Oda's mind for the story. It's like, oh, they got demonized, Even though they were actually the good guys in this conflict, the winners actually demonized the good guys.
It.
Something to that effect.
Part of me also thinks there's something more. Like, it's 20 kingdoms uniting together to take down like one big government, which sounds kind of familiar to what's going on right now.
That's
right?
interesting. Wow, I never really thought that the ancient kingdom could be a parallel to the world government, because the 20 kingdoms formed the world government. So
right.
Did they take down the oppressors and then became the people they swore to defeat?
Yeah, like it's
That's
just
cool.
it's and then like, but then like, what if those are the 20 people that did that? Where did that stigmata come from? Like the upper elite class, like how did that form again, essentially? And
I feel like the angle that would make sense with that in mind is jealousy. It's like this is the kingdom that was more advanced than the others, and they banded together to get the resources that kingdom had.
See, that makes sense. But then,
yeah, why would they reset the world to an older age? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
oh man, it's so interesting. What happened, Oda? What are you
now
cooking?
it could also be fear, and going back to like the Frankie and these lobbying situations where it's like people just were like, oh my god, they're making all these things, we need, like, that's not good, like someone can use this to like destroy the world, so we need to just get rid of all of it entirely.
Yeah.
Or else
I mean, like I like stories. I like stories that go that way, where it's like we can't repeat the error, so we need to like go a completely different way. Like Mother 3 does that once you get to like deep game and they talk about the real origins of the world they live in. Stuff like that's really cool.
It's just one of those things where it's like we're getting closer to what this is, but it's still not making sense in my mind.
Yeah.
Like we're missing like a very vital piece of information, and if we have Joy Boy that's potentially part of this kingdom, but also like a savior of sorts to a bunch of like, or an icon.
Yeah, like then they can't be the villains if Joy Boy is on their side, right? Like it just like would Oda flip that? Like that would be such an interesting flip. It's like, oh, you're a savior of slaves is a fake. Luffy, you're like the title you're inheriting. You need to be better than he was because he wasn't all that he's like cracked up to be. I don't know. Would Oda do that? I feel like he would want to. He would go the straight route where it's like Luffy's a direct parallel to Joy Boy of our current time. But
it's
interesting if you sort of.
It's just we're missing like what caused this breaking point, and that might get revealed in this section, or
that would be nuts, because that's one of like, if you had to pick a big 3 mysteries of One Piece, I don't think anyone would argue that that's not one of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like we live in a world that we don't understand where we came from. That's basically the world of One Piece. It's just told in parcels throughout the story where like you don't realize that that's how we're living in the world. So it's like the answer to that would be huge. It's like, oh, how are we even in the setting we're in? We don't know that yet. So it'd be interesting. And like it also like it's just crazy to think, because like when you think about it, they could have lived in a world like us. Like One Piece could be a post-apocalyptic story that came from a world similar to ours, but is now the insane One Piece world that they live in or something. I don't know. Like it's just interesting. It's on the table now. And like
global warming.
It always struck odd to me that this pirate setting had stuff like comic books, had stuff like television screens that they use snail technology to do, to be fair. But something that always was weird to me, it's like way back in Drum Kingdom, where like Luffy thinks Chopper's going to shoot a beam, or we get to like Eni's lobby and like people think a cyborg is weird, but they're not treating it as the complete out of left field jumping technology it should be. And I just kind of was like, whatever, I don't need to think too much about it. But now it makes a little more sense that these might be artifacts of the ancient civilization, like the time where humanity was advanced, and some of that information trickled down into the world that they live in today. So the idea of a robot appeared way earlier in their timeline than it would for us, for example.
Yeah, and it makes sense like why the rest of the world isn't super advanced, but also there are cyborgs, because like
Yeah.
normally you would expect like people don't invent cyborgs until way after a lot of other stuff is invented, but like I
You
don't
don't
know.
go that far down tech tree in Civ.
Yeah, in this circumstance, it's like no, it's like all technology was brought down, and then some
Yeah.
people are able to recover the cyborg technology.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's like, to get to the state where we make AI and robots, the entire world technology needs to be advanced to a certain level. But yeah, it's like pockets here and there we're able to recover the needed things to start creating these robots. So very cool, very interesting. But it gets crazier, because Oda is addressing the books thrown into the ocean in the Ohara flashback as Shaka's talking about it. And that was always the weirdest part of that flashback, and maybe the plot hole that might be caused here. It's like they deliberately showed two Marines walking by this like lake that is filled with books that the archaeologists threw in the lake, and I guess they just didn't report it to their superiors. So it's like the only way that this works. Or I guess part of it is also like the world government has to lie that they're good. Therefore, the orders that they need to give need to be formed in a way where it won't raise too much suspicion. Ergo, like, it was the people that were bad because they were rebels. That's actually how it's phrased in the flashback. It's like these people are actively working against the government, while the other books are history books. So why would the government be like, oh, burn the history books? I think that would raise too many red flags to show the actual nature of the government. That doesn't mean, though, that they wouldn't send like world government officers, like not Marines, because Marines are the policemen.
Like, I don't know, CP9.
Yeah, send one of the
something?
CP groups in there to maybe get rid of the books or retrieve them after.
Well,
so,
I guess they did send Vegapunk.
Did they send Vegapunk, or did he go there on his own? I wonder.
I don't know, but like he could have also been like a thing worth taking from there, or double checked, but like who knows?
It's not really stated one way or the other, but that's the one like weird part about this. But that aside, though, I'm glad that their sacrifices weren't in vain. Like, that makes that flashback even better, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it just made a good flashback better.
Yeah.
I also like how Clover is recontextualized as this badass who was like, the government did not like him because he was he was getting too close to the truth, man.
And basically like an OG like knowledge pirate.
Yeah, like he went searching for booty, but it's cool to see these prototypes to pirates like Noland and Clover, where it's like they're not pirates, but they have that free spirit that sends them out to the seas. So it's cool to see that. But the line of the chapter and of the arc right now is when Chaka just plainly says, "OHARA won." Like, when I read that, I was so hype. I was like, it's just so flat out stated. It feels so good. You also get to see Dragon and Vegapunk meet in the ruins.
Yeah. We also get introduced to OG Vegapunk in this.
Yeah, I'm glad it was explained in the next chapter that he ate the brain food. This is wild.
This is fucking ridiculous. I was like, I swear to God, if the reason this man is a G is because he was born with a giant head, I'm actually going to throw something against my wall.
Nah, it's great though.
I'm not going to have fucking helicopter dinosaurs in this nonsense in the same comic.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I saw his older version, but he's designed after Einstein, which I think is really fun.
Oh yeah,
he's got the tongue out like the picture, and when he's got the white hair, he's got the sideways hair, but he's also got like an Isaac Newton apple.
That's really cool.
So this is like a great take on like what Oda would envision as like the top dog scientist of the world.
Dude, I don't know. I never envisioned him looking like this.
There was two ways it could have gone in my mind always. Like he would look like a fucking idiot, or he would look badass. The thing is, Oda did both. He took both. He patented
both.
Will and I have had this discussion every time Vegapunk was me and him doing this. Like every time we were like, is he gonna look stupid or is he gonna look cool? Like, what the fuck is Oda setting up here?
I knew it would have to be an extreme in either way. Like
Yeah.
Oda would go all out in one of the ends of the spectrum, but yeah, he did both. We see Dragon here at his youngest we've ever seen. He's got no face tattoos. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Which looks a little odd when you first see him. But what's cool about this, so he talks about, they had this conversation on why Vegapunk's joining the government. I think this is really cool to highlight, like, what kind of person Vegapunk is. But more interestingly, I think, this also sets up it's starting to set up a very clear timeline of Dragon's life, which is like, this is still a very mysterious character, and it's cool to see. He's like Shanks level mysterious. He was just introduced later in the story, so like we don't see him, or like maybe we don't yearn for him the same way, but I think he's like written in a similar fashion to Shanks, where you get drip fed Dragon content throughout the story. But he was part of the freedom fighters back here. This was before the revolutionaries. And I think what's interesting is like, he talks about being, or like I think Vegapunk talks about him being a pacifist. So up to this point, I think he was like a peaceful protester, and this is the event where it's like, oh, we got to get violent. We're gonna start actually fighting these people. It gets really interesting when you look at it that way, and like suddenly Dragon goes from like a mysterious character that like, oh, we'll get to him later, to someone I'm like actively excited to see more of because I understand him a little better. I understand like his past. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Man, what interesting face tattoos. Like, because I just looked them up again.
I feel like I get Shandian vibes from them, but maybe that's because that's the only Native American culture that we've been introduced to.
That's what I get vibes from too. But they could, like, they might not some sort, but...
Could you repeat? You've been cutting off here and there, Joe.
Have I? Okay, let me move this up to me.
I don't know why.
It could be more of a branding rather than a tattoo, is what I was saying. But
I feel like he could get it after this as like a sign to himself of like his new mission. Like it could be symbolic. Like it can be some sort of symbolism in whatever culture he got the tattoo from.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get an answer to what the tattoos are about. I feel like we would in at least an SBS, but maybe in like a small flashback somewhere as well.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. I also think it's interesting he came here with flowers. I think a theory was brought up recently that like maybe he was in love with Nika Ovia. She was part of a group that was it's a group of archaeologists, but like there's not a title added to them. What if Ovia was part of the freedom fighters? And it would mean that Dragon could be Robin's mom. And for once, the hidden sibling trope...
Dragon could be Robin's mom? Oh, yes. That makes sense.
Just like Crocodile was Luffy's mom.
Oh, yeah.
He's friends with Ivankov. You think this isn't possible, you fool? Anything is possible in this world. But it could mean that Luffy and Robin are siblings. And
that'd be so cool.
Wouldn't it? Like, usually that would come off as cheesy, but I think just, like, the progression of these two characters' relationship, like, comes from such a pure place where they've always just kind of understood each other in interesting ways. Like, I mean, Luffy's an emotional mastermind, but, like, Robin's always, like... very like Luffy does some dumb shit and Robin always has that soft smile and chuckle where she's like, the way she looks at Luffy is distinctly different from any of the other Straw Hats, where like she looks at him in like a very cute and inspiring way.
And it's like, out of all the Straw Hats, you know, she's the one uncovering the truth of the world government, and, you know, he's, like, the one who has the power to actually take it on that they're going after. So it's like, they'd be, like, the dynamic brother-sister duo.
I'm totally down for it, man. I know some people would be like, oh, man, that's corny, but fuck it. It's... When has One Piece shied away from getting corny when it needs to? If you, like, read some of the dialogue, Oda writes it, like, so, like, straight-laced, where it's like, there is no sarcasm here, I'm gonna say the most emotional, corny line, and it's gonna hit because of how I set up the scene.
Very on the nose.
Yeah. But it works, because, like, he writes around it well.
I think, though, the biggest shock or twist after this is the reveal about the Burnt Man. Yes.
So... it is revealed that Saul is alive. Robin has the cutest fucking smile, so it's worth it just for that. But I wanted to ask how y'all feel about Saul being alive.
I Weirdly enough, I think it's fine. Like,
yeah, this one, it's not nearly as bad as some other instances.
Yeah. Because like I see a lot of theories pop up that Aokiji used ice capsule on him, so it would protect him through everything, basically. So it would like he would wake up after the whole incident happened and could still keep on doing his own thing.
To me, it's not even about the how. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People have survived in way dumber ways. Like,
True.
What I think is important is like it actually works in character for Aokiji to spare Saul as well as Robin, or like free Saul and be like, if you die, you die, but if you live, you have a chance to get out of here. And I feel like that's how it goes. And like you mentioned, Joe, the Burn Man. The other day, Kid mentioned this mystery of a Burn Man that might have a key or like a lead on how to get, like, either read the poneglyphs or get the final poneglyph. I forgot which one it was.
The final one was what they were looking for.
The Burn Man could be Saul, where he's either got ice burns or burns from the fire of the Buster Call. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think it lines up because he has all that information. And without all that information, you might be able to figure out like where these things were originally located or where they went, potentially.
And it's like, I get it, where it's like you'll never be able to read the O'Hara flashback the same way, because while Saul's dying in an emotional scene, Oda isn't going all the way through with it. But at the same time, it's like, one, this is his known weakness. But also, I think, like, didn't Robin suffer enough in her life? I will give her this one, like, reprieve. Like, I don't want torture porn in my One Piece.
Yeah, and also it doesn't, I don't think devalues it either. Being still, like, that moment is also about all these people that are choosing to like sacrifice themselves in some way to like have Robin survive and fight against this. So he's still like giving up his chance to go be with Robin and like protect her. It's like you have to go and find your own place in the world, basically. So it's still a bittersweet moment.
And she still lost Clover and her mom. So, like, I think there's enough suffering there to still be a good flashback. And I'm actually, like, pretty okay. Like, this is one of the better, if not the best, fake out death in the series, I will say. The best handled, and the one that actually improves, like, the character of Aokiji, for example. But anywho, that leads us to the actual view of the actual Vegapunk.
Yeah.
He's still out there, looking like Einstein. It's a great little panel that shows him off. Not much to say there. I like how he looks. I like how he looks because Shaka also exists. So, like I mentioned,
we get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you really do. I'm
very interested to see what original Vegapunk is like when he talks to the rest of himself.
Yeah, like I'm like that's gotta be interesting, right? Like, I'm not sure if we'll get a flashback of when he came to the conclusion that he needs to split his mind and his first interactions with his other selves, or if we'll just get to see how he talks to them in present time. But both of them will be fascinating, I think.
I mean, what if he like it gets revealed like he just after he did that he just never interacted with the rest of his bodies and just let them keep doing what they needed to be doing, and he gets updates like he just is completely disassociated himself from all that process, because they seem like a working machine, whereas he's a giant goofball. So
it's possible, and he's just vibing, getting their research, and maybe just commenting on like how maybe they can proceed, or maybe he's just letting them run rampant. But I think there's a lot of implications to either of those. That Oda's definitely setting up some interesting things here with Vegapunk, the Punk records, and why he chose to split himself up. But that leads us to the last chapter here, which is called Punk Records. So let's jump into it. Like we mentioned, he has the brain-bringing fruit. I like how his head looks like a light bulb. Actually, I didn't realize that when you see it in the previous chapter, but like the way it's drawn here in the first few pages makes it more clear. He seems like a very fun guy. He seems a little more serious in the flashback, but also like he was mourning the death of a bunch of archaeologists, so that's fair.
But it's also hard to take that man seriously with the way he looked.
True. Like, I would like to see a scene where it's revealed that Vegapunk is actually crueler than he seems, but it like you show a past version of him and he's like acting menacing and mean. Like, how would Oda be able to
Oh my
draw
God.
this character in a menacing way?
Imagine a fighting game character where you're Vegapunk, and you have to play the original, but you call the other ones in to fight,
Would be
and
fantastic.
so you just have you have this fucking goofball jumping around the screen. You have Shaka and Lilith actually doing combos in front of him.
In Pirate Warriors 5, you'll just be controlling Shaka, who summons the rest, and I think Vegapunk will show up for the ultimate, where he shoots the big laser that he'll shoot later in the arc.
He gets the big robot up, and it does a smashy.
There you go, a good old smashy attack.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I glossed over, but there's been some good humor in these chapters. There was one in the first chapter where Usopp goes, "Wait, am I Vegapunk?" That got a good laugh of me. And this one, he's talking about his clones, and Luffy asks if he's a ninja, which is just like. There's another thing. How did Luffy in his bumfuck country ass island know the concept of ninjas? Like, there's definitely some weird pop culture. Drop feeding from that ancient kingdom. So he talks about Punk Records, which is the other Vegapunks updating this collective consciousness, and one day
It's a torch.
Yeah, one day he wants to get the whole world hooked up on this stuff. So what do y'all think of this idea?
This is just the internet.
That was my first thought too. He wants to make the internet.
Yeah.
He does want to make the internet, but like the way he states it, I feel like is still distinctly different.
Yeah, like even more.
Yeah, he wants to make a proper. I don't know. It could be interpreted as he wants to make something of a hive mind because he says one day humanity will be able to share a brain, which is interesting.
He wants to make the Matrix. We all plug ourselves in and we know everything.
And like Jinbei coming in hot with what I think is a good counterpoint immediately. He's like, won't different ideologies all conflict when inserted into that? They are talking about the internet there. Like, that is what Twitter is these days. It's just a mess because of all these different ideologies just being spat at each other. So it's funny that Vegapunk doesn't have a very good answer, I don't think. He's like, that's a smart question, but it's got to happen. We got to make advancements.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good response too, because it goes back once the Frankie flashback, where it's like you have to make the thing, and it's not the thing's responsibility to be a good whatever it is. It's up to the people that use it, right? So
like stepping outside the story, like how do y'all feel about that? Like progress in that way, and then we have to think like, what does Oda think about that? I wonder.
Yeah.
Because we made the atomic bomb one time. In fact, we're doing Einstein right now. We're getting to the atomic bombs that are the Seraphins, potentially.
Yeah.
So it's like, that maybe we shouldn't have progressed to that point, because now the world can end at any time if people so desire.
Yeah, it's just like progress for the sake of progress.
Yeah, like, is that, do y'all think that's an inevitability of humanity? Like, is that good? I don't know.
Someone's gonna do it eventually.
Yeah.
I guess so. Well, it's been nice knowing y'all, because we'll just keep progressing till World War III one day.
Okay, I was gonna say. Oh, my next joke I was gonna say is that what if the combined kingdoms took down the world government or the ancient kingdom because of the internet? Like, just the internet was the cause of everything.
The source of jealousy. They're like,
loud.
hey, we wanna become unified as well. I don't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work because they didn't use it. Like they tossed away all the technology. What happened, man?
Like, what happened? Like,
what if
the internet was a mistake?
What if the previous user of the time fruit took all like the relevant technology to the future or something? And it could
Interesting.
They could have taken the relative technology. You know what? Like, they find the big robot, right? It's 800 years old. How long had it been in the ocean when they found it? What if it just showed up one day and they're like, wait, what?
Wasn't there a line in one of these chapters where that robot attacked the Grand Line?
Oh, we're about to get to that. That's coming up.
Okay.
Because that's a whole box that I don't know how to unpack. But It's just like maybe it's further in the timeline than we're currently at. Like all the technology lies in the future, and maybe we need to build a world that can handle that technology smarter than the Ancient Kingdom did. And maybe that's one of the morals of the story or something. Who would have thought that One Piece was a story about the handling of technology? Not me. But maybe it's headed that direction. I like when Luffy summons not Luffy, but Bonnie accidentally summons a swarm of flies for some reason. Like, good invention, Vegapunk. I'm sure it's very helpful. Yeah. But I like how he grabs the stag beetle, and like we're calling back to like Luffy's love of beetles.
I love that part.
Every Japanese young boy loves beetle fighting, is what I've learned from reading manga, because there's like dozens of manga that feature like young children beetle fighting and loving it, and also Pokemon was formed from this hobby, so it's like stuff like that is cute.
Yeah. What if the One Piece is just a beetle collection?
Yeah, it'll be a really cool one. Vegapunk starts talking about
failures.
Wano. Yeah, he's talking about Wano, and he's talking about he did experiments on Kaido. It's just like how I think a lot of people predicted that, like he took Kaido's genes and tried to replicate the fruit. And I like how Luffy's like, oh, dude, Momo's not a failure. Like, it's cool because Luffy used to bully Momo until Momo manned up, was forced to grow up. But I like how he recognizes him as a success now. I think this is a cute way to show how Luffy thinks of Momo these days.
But I do think it's really funny because for a long time we were trying to figure out the defect, and I think I mentioned it where it was just like, it's probably just something stupid that's wrong with the thing. Like, it just turns a pink or whatever.
It's pink instead of blue. He's like, so it's a failure. So he's a perfectionist after all. So here we get the story of the giant. The giant climbed the Red Line 200 years ago, around the same time fishman discrimination became a big issue. Like, this is the first time I think we're hearing about any of this.
Yeah.
And, like, what do y'all make of this? Because usually some lore will drop in One Piece, and I'll show up on our book talks and be like, y'all, you might have missed that this links to this, this, and this. I am completely stumped on what the meaning of this is, or if it links to anything.
So the goal was never understood. They say there was no damage. Ran out of energy. No doubt the scientists at the time were utterly shocked by the event. Like, it sounds almost kind of like Tsunaysha, where like it was told to keep walking and it finally reached there, but it ran out of power.
Yeah.
Like,
these events are going to be like what we get drip fed over the course of this arc.
Yeah.
And then the people on screen are going to be Luffy and Chopper who don't care to ask more. So.
That's Oda's favorite. Like, he'll do the most important plot thread to Luffy, because then he won't, or like to someone who won't tell Luffy or something. Like, yeah. Like, how come Robin hasn't talked to Luffy about Joy Boy yet? That is something I need. On a different note, because she read the poneglyph about Joy Boy, and by the end of Wano, they're calling Luffy the Joy Boy because they've also heard the legends. So I don't know.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, that's probably it. But I would have liked that addressed. It probably will in a flashback eventually.
Yeah, so like, there's a lot of stuff that just makes me think about these like weird giant animal things that are just very out of place in the world. Like, you have Tsunaysha.
It's almost like Junji Ito-esque of like these giant like these creations and creatures that are doing things that we can't comprehend, but they're peaceful.
And then remember, there was just the giant dragon, fucking Punk Hazard, and like there's a dragon. Okay.
Now, to be fair, that was a dragon that Vegapunk straight up made that was still in the island. So he recreated that dragon. And I think we were talking about it on the podcast not too long ago. Where we were like, oh, the Celestial Dragons probably wanted a dragon because they, like, worship it or something.
Yeah. Okay.
But does this story remind you of anything, though? Because there's, like, a weird parallel, and that's what's so confusing about this story.
Attack on Titan?
No, it's a parallel to something in One Piece. This is oddly reminiscent of the story that Fisher Tiger told.
Yeah,
where he climbed the Red Line to break into Marijar.
That was the first thought I had when I actually read this.
And then that's how he saved the slaves like Boa.
Yeah.
But also, like, and this isn't how I interpreted the flashback back then. But when Fisher Tiger says that he was a slave at the when he's on his deathbed, right? He tells the truth. Is that to me? I guess the implication was like he was a slave, was saved, and then climbed the red line and saved the slaves. But I think that's the wrong interpretation. Maybe you guys interpreted the wrong that way too. But I think the actual story is he was a slave. Thing showed up. They all managed to break out or something.
Yeah.
And then he claimed the story of how he saved the slaves to up the brand of Fishman to be the Malcolm X leader that he is today. Like he needed that to start his revolution. Like that lie.
But how long?
Man, I like this.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
But that's the thing. That was not 200 years ago because...
Yeah, it couldn't have been that long ago.
Because Jinbei... It was within Jinbei's life, and Jinbei's 46-ish or something.
Not even. It was within Koala's life. Like...
Yeah, shit. Yeah, Koala's
in her 20s. Hold on.
But like it...
But so what the fuck's happening? This is what's stumping me.
It could be like... It could have been like a story that was told like in the slave camps there, where it's like, oh, this robot was coming to save us and climbed up all the way to the top, and then it just stopped or something.
Yeah, maybe it happens once with this thing, once with Fisher Tiger, and then to make it a 3B, Luffy's gonna climb up the red line too.
Yeah.
You know what? And it'll be reminiscent of him climbing the big shrub, the big mountain in Drum Island.
Ooh, so hey.
But the thing is, how trivial would it be for Luffy to climb? I mean. Hopefully the red line is big enough to where even Gear 5 can't really make it up there reasonably. That is interesting though, like, so I guess the way I'm gonna run with it right now, I need to double check who saved all the slaves if it wasn't Fisher Tiger.
I don't think...
Did they stage someone was able to break them out, or like they found a flaw in the system and made like an exodus. And like, what's so interesting about this is also like, this robot is around the same time as Fishman civil rights became a thing, and but that was Fishman civil rights became a thing so much earlier in the story before Otohime and Fisher Tiger made strides in that field. So I don't know what is the thing is all these things are clearly linked. But I can't for the life of me make heads or tails of it. I don't know. Do y'all have any way to connect these?
Not at all.
Yeah. Joe, you got anything?
No.
It's tricky, but just something to keep in mind now that now that we talked about it. We'll see if something comes up that can fit into that timeline. Are you looking into the Fisher Tiger thing?
Yeah, so according to the Wikipedia page, he was a slave, escaped, and then went back and climbed up, and then rescued a bunch of them. But I think that's also but I think that also might be conjecture because he never reinforces that he did climb the red line up there. He just says he was a slave, but who knows?
Yeah, thinking on it, maybe his "I was a slave" while he's crying is I was actually just another slave. I wasn't the hero you think I am. This just makes all the characters involved cooler. It makes the world cooler. I like how there was a civil war movement or civil rights movement before, well before the story. That makes sense.
Yeah,
very cool. And if he did climb back up, let's say slaves that have been there for 200 years passed down the story of the giant warrior. Maybe they didn't know what a robot, it was a robot or something. Maybe they just called it some sort of warrior. Maybe this is Joy Boy. Maybe this robot is Joy Boy, the Liberator. But anyway, or Nika, rather. But they pass on this story, and then Fisher Tiger, once freed, try to reenact it or something like that. I don't know. But that's assuming he climbed it after all. So I'm going to have to look into this after the podcast. But we'll move on from there. That's the last big thing of the chapter, I think. CP9's refused entry, which is surprising. So Shaka refuses entry for the CP9, CP0 rather, which I think is taken as a shock to the other Vegapunks. They seem surprised that he's doing that. Well, I don't know. Okay, so he says, tell them that they can't enter the island. Prepare for a fight. Somewhat surprised because this is on page 1615. There's like the question mark, exclamation mark. So I wonder, like, is this a straw? I guess this would be the Straw Hats.
That'd be the Straw Hats, because in the
Yeah.
previous page, they're talking about, like, oh god, they're going to Government Island. We have to protect Robin. We'll have to fight them again. Like, Usopp and Nami are freaking out.
I'm super glad this is happening too. Like, do y'all see Lucci giving them actual trouble? Like, how do y'all think this plays out if they actually get in a scuffle?
I don't know, man. I was about to say yes, but Gear 5, man.
I don't like Lucci. Of course, like the Straw Hats just also passively get EXP. Like people in One Piece are like Pokemon, where they just get EXP and learn new moves from combat. So ostensibly Lucci's stronger, but no fucking way he can keep up with someone that was going toe to toe with two emperors. Like, get that
I wonder
out
if
of
it's
here.
gonna be like how the pacifistas used to be able to body Luffy, and then like we come back from the time skip, and then he totally destroys them. It's like, okay, pacifistas were like a benchmark for power, and now that we know they can beat them,
Yeah.
so it's like we've seen how powerful Lucci was before, so maybe this will just be like, oh, here's how powerful Gear 5 is.
That's how I'm picturing it. Or Luffy probably doesn't encounter Lucci for a majority of his stay in the island. It's like he just shows up for the finisher to show how much stronger he is. I want to see Robin like put up a decent fight against Lucci. I think that would be really cool. Pimp smack him a little bit. I also love how they're putting masks back on, because I think I've talked about this in something else. It pisses me off when people take off masks after the big reveal and don't put them back on, because it's like the audience has seen my face, so I don't have to hide this from any other character in the actual world. So I'm glad they're like, hey, we're doing another assassination. Let's do our usual like put our masks on thing. That's really cool.
Also, Kaku's like, I want my mask to have a beard, please. Like,
I'm feeling facial hair lately. I want to try it out.
yeah.
I believe that'd be Khalifa. Oh, no, is that Stussy or Khalifa?
That's Stussy.
Right? I guess that'd be Stussy, yeah, because I guess because Khalifa exists because she showed up in Film Red briefly, so I was like, okay, she's still in the story. Oda also fixed the Kuma Seraphim's got the white hair now, so that makes more sense. But what do y'all take of the last thing with this chapter, which is a cyborg Kuma that they were doing some work on starts running off, like leaves the operation table or whatever he's being stored, and starts running off in a direction. Like, what do y'all think is happening?
I hope it's the fatherly instincts.
But how would he know?
Because love.
Because hockey.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he's hooked into Vegapunk's security systems, and maybe he can access the camera feed from long distance, and he could be like, Bonnie's there, I need to go.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, though, it is as much as I would like it to be fatherly love, because that also means Kuma's still alive. I could very equally see it just being like,
it could also be tragic.
Yeah, I think it might be tragic.
It could also be like he's still hooked up to like Vegapunk systems, and Vegapunk is like accidentally recalling him, basically.
Yeah, definitely. It's like hey, we're about to fight, and Kuma. It's like a highest level DEFCON 5, DEFCON 3, as Kanye would put it, and Kuma's out here like, oh, I have to go interact with that.
It could also be like a way where Vegapunk's like, they're gonna come back and fight me. Well, I should be able to have an overriding. The original could come back and fight for me. Yeah. Kind of a situation. Because, yeah.
I mean, this just brings up a problem we were talking about. It's like, I want the world government to be, like, very threatening as we reach this final fight. But if Vegapunk sabotaged all their highest tech, it would take away from that final conflict, because the world government's nerfed. Like, you want the stakes to be almost insurmountable, right? Like, it's the final arc. So maybe, though, I will put a poll amongst us. Do you think Vegapunk's going to be assassinated by Lucci?
You know, I'll say it's not impossible. I don't know if I'll put confidence in it.
Okay.
I don't think it's impossible, but I feel like Lucci might just blow up the island or blow up the databank system. But that seems a bit too dark, because it kills all the other Vegapunks almost.
Yeah, I think he said he puts his brains up there too, so I think that's just like tons and tons of regularly
Yeah.
remove brain matter, which is gonna be whole gross if it pops
Yeah.
out.
So it's like, I don't know.
But
also,
here's the
we forgot
thing.
to skip.
Go ahead, Joe.
We skipped over the part that fucking Vegapunk asked Luffy to take him with him.
Yeah, this is just funny. It's like, I think this is a Vegapunk for Straw Hat moment, but it's more like a, hey, I think I'm about to die. Can you, like, escort me out of here?
Yeah.
I'm leaning strongly towards Vegapunk dying. The reason being is that by him dying, he can't activate the fail switches that would have been it closes off the possibility of nerfing the world government before the final fight, and I think that would be good to heighten drama.
Actually, yeah, because he's probably too useful for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, the thing is, he's immediately friendly. He's talking to Luffy. He wants Luffy to take him out of there. He's too strong of an ally. They can't have that. So I think he will get, like, his necessary exposition out, leave a little bit left before he's assassinated, so there's a lingering mystery, like one little thing about devil fruits he doesn't explain or something, or one little thing about the history.
What if they end up capturing him and then they have to do like another Marineford situation where they rescue him from being executed?
Somebody's got to be a princess we got to save, and we have some viable candidates. We have Kobe, we have Boa. No, not Boa. We have Kobe. We have Sabo. And we have Pudding, potentially, and throw Vegapunk in there. We have Vivi.
Yeah, we also have Vivi.
Yeah. Maybe all of them. Maybe they would be like all tied up together and in a bundle for Luffy to go save as all the snakes in the world.
There's a big bonfire like a witch in Salem, and they have to. There's just people running with torches, and they have to light them. You have to knock them out before they light the fire.
Sure, it'll be a stealth mission. But that's why I think also, like, it's brought up. We didn't talk about it, but it should be worth mentioning that, like, the way he talks about his clones. The way I interpret it is Vegapunk says all of them combined make up me. Like, if you combine all of them, you get the same person I would be, more or less. Is that how y'all interpret it, or like he split them off of himself, and he's a shell of his former self, and only if you split them up would you get the true Vegapunk personality? Like, which one do y'all think it is? I don't know if that makes sense. Do y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, all 6 of them together possess one complete copy of my personality. That's what he says.
I think I don't think he himself has a neutered personality after creating them.
Yeah.
I think it's like he copied the good part of the personality, copied the bad part of the personality.
Okay, it looks like we all interpret it the same way. So it's like, if he's out of the pic, like, he's basically like, hey, I'm going to set these sides of myself and let them go free. I think ostensibly you could say that they're no longer... I think the experiences that they've gained makes them no longer just the evil side of Vegapunk. It's like, I would say they've evolved a little more into their own individual personalities, maybe. So it is safe to say, like, also that, like, if you remove head Vegapunk, would there be infighting within the 6? And, like, that could be really interesting if they become, like, part of that final conflict somehow.
That's what I was also, like, talking about. It's like, how does that Vegapunk interact with the rest of them, and like what's that relationship there? Now, what if Shaka's the only one that dies? Because Shaka seems to be the head of that group.
Yeah.
Like, they listen to him.
Yeah, he's definitely the leader of the 6.
Yeah, and that causes a split where it's like Lilith wants to go with the world government because funding, and they're gonna.
Atlas goes there because she wants to murder.
Yeah, Edison and Pythagoras are like, no, they were trying to.
And then
York
just keeps feeling them as a neutral party. She's Switzerland.
Yeah. She stays on the island.
Cool.
They're like, don't break her. She's just a toilet. Oh, that's a terrible thing.
That would be another chip on the world government side heading into this final saga, where it's like, well, we also definitively have a couple of the Vegapunks on our side.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm putting my foot down. Death happens in One Piece now every once in a while after a couple fake deaths. So I'm putting.
Also, apparently, Big Mom's dead. Like,
no fucking way, Big Mom's dead.
You don't think Big Mom's dead?
Do you think Big Mom's dead?
Yeah, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, I get. Here's why Big Mom is not dead. Her last words is, "You won't have seen the last of me." Three chapters ago, Pudding's like, "You haven't seen the last of her." Like,
Words have too much power.
I mean, Oda writes dialogue for a reason. He's always planting seeds, and the thing is, I think Kaido might be dead. At best, Kaido is dead and is now like Big Mom's final lava homie.
Okay.
How
That'd be
about
fun.
now? The thing is, if Big Mom shows up, she won't be an antagonist, but not a. It'll be a short stint where like I think next time she shows up, Luffy will beat her ass because I think he needs to get some punches in on her, and then she will help Luffy after they scuffle.
I could be fine with that because like if she came back in like a fashion like you said, I could maybe be okay because it's not like the entirety of the arc of Wano is about beating her.
Yeah.
If Kaido comes back in any form, I'm gonna be like, are you fucking serious?
We just did 150 chapters to take out this guy.
Kaido should come back as Mecha Kaido. Just for the fucking memes.
Maybe that's how she makes her homie. She takes like molten lava and steel that's in the Earth's core,
Yeah.
and makes
Kaido's soul.
The only way you can kill him is toss. The only way you can kill him is toss him back into the fires of Wano. Have to carry his ass up to the mountain again.
Oh man, because Big Mom has been a primary antagonist, a secondary antagonist. I want her to be I want him to get to Elbaf. She's there. Luffy beats her up because she's weakened, and Luffy can fight Kaido, so he can obviously fight Big Mom.
Oh yeah.
And he'll be healthy. And then she's taken out relatively quickly. We will no longer have Big Mom as a villain, and the Giants will be like, "Yo, thank you. We do not like that woman. She has murdered our actual king in the past. So we owe you one." And then we can move the plot along, and they go to the library of Ohara that they have in the Giant Island. Which, by the way, the Giants got the books. That gives us a direct reason to go to Elbaf, right? Oh, surely Oda won't cuck us. Like,
you know what? What if Shanks knows about the books too?
Maybe that's where he learned about Joy Boy. And
I just assume Shanks knows about everything.
Yeah.
Until proven otherwise, Shanks knows everything.
Yeah. But like if Shanks, because remember Shanks says let's go get the One Piece.
Yeah.
So what if he's going to Elbaf, presumably where the books are, to like figure out where he needs to go next, where the last thing
Like
is.
that particular scene that you just mentioned is the scene that convinced me Shanks does know everything that's going on in the setting. The only reason he's not doing more is because he's been waiting for certain things to happen.
Exactly. Primarily, I think he's been waiting for the awakening of Luffy's fruit for some reason. Man. I mean, that's all the real content. We went a little longer than I thought we would, but I mean, there's so much lore in this section where like there's a lot for us to chat about. If anything else y'all want to bring up,
not about One Piece, but yesterday we went to Wendy's and they this podcast is sponsored by Wendy's. It's the new sandwich. It's the mozzarella chicken. It's fucking good.
That sounds right up my alley, and I'm hungry.
It's like chicken, but there's like mozzarella cheese inside the chicken, and they got some like tomato sauce and shit on it.
Damn,
I'm doing it now.
That's a chicken parm sandwich.
Yeah, that seems like a chicken parm.
And the bread is like a garlic knot.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a chicken parm sandwich, and that's gonna cause you to have like 3 heart attacks in one day.
Oh, I did.
So,
I'll go die. On that note, Bradley, you talked about Shanks. Really try to go watch Film Red. I think you'll really like it. I know Joe was like,
the good movie.
The one. I think you'll really like the Shanks and Uta content in that movie.
I'm
very curious what you would think of Uta.
Let's do it.
And then in case anyone's listening, Joe and I did talk about Film Red on our most recent podcast, so go give that a listen if you want to hear our thoughts on Film Red. It's spoiler free.
And if anyone is listening, including you two, go read the Ichinose Family's 7 Deadly Sins, or Ichinose Family's Deadly Sins, because
New jump manga.
That shit is fucking depressing.
And go read Dandadan, and everybody buy.
And
Toriko.
go read Dandadan.
And go buy Toriko.
Yeah.
You know, I think I've said it before, but the Toriko guy did a little bit of, Japanese mangaka sexual misconduct,
Oh, you.
He did a little trolling, so every time we've ever
we
made
do
that joke. Anyways, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Adios.